guys, welcome to Teacher Mabid. I'm a teacher turned homeschool mom, and on this channel I talk about everything about homeschooling, momhood, and everything else. And today I'm very excited to share with you guys our morning basket. I had in another video I had talked about what our schedule looks like. So if you guys are interested, please check that out. It'll be linked somewhere here below. And on this video I'm going to be talking about our morning basket, and I'm just going to go really quickly over some of the books we use, and a lot of these books are books that you are familiar about, that we've been using, and a lot of them are new too. So our morning basket is usually the time period after my kids wake up and they're having breakfast, because for me it's been challenging. My older daughter will stay put for a while, but my younger one is very fidgety and loves running around. She's only 3, so who can blame her? But it's been challenging for me to try to get them to sit quietly for a bit so I can read to them and stuff. But morning breakfast time works perfectly because they're eating, they're sitting still, and I usually have a lot of things. So if one is done with her breakfast or she wants to do something else, I have things that they can do while they're listening to me. So this is our time period in the day where I am reading aloud to them, and kind of we're talking about different ideas and concepts. And so I'm just going to kind of quickly go through it and share it with you guys. So the first section that I'm going to share is going to be Islamic studies, and I try to keep that earlier in the day, mostly because I'm going to start our day off with a little bit of reflection, a little bit of talking about a little bit of spirituality and stuff, just to get our day started right. And so I prefer having our Islamic studies section in our morning basket. And so what we do is, like, we read short stories from we read one short story. Now you have to understand there's a lot in here, and I go through it pretty quickly because it's short lessons. It's not, I'm not gonna go through 3 or 4 chapters at the same time. I do it pretty quickly, and just it keeps their interest, and it keeps them it keeps them interested because it's different topics and talking about different things. And so the first one is stories from the Quran. This is Stories from the Quran. It's by Timus Kids. I'm not sure, but I might have picked this up. It's timuspublishing.com. So this is Stories from the Quran. It's very short stories. There's a lot of cool pictures and stuff for them to look at. So we do that. And then we do our, I'm going to go through these 4 books together. We do our Suffer books. And if you are interested, I'll link the video somewhere. Suffer Publications, we use their stuff. So we do maybe like 1 or 2 from these lines. We'll do just to get ourselves charged up and kind of learning. And we do this one. We do the du'as and surahs. I ask them to recite their surah, and we talk about the meaning a little bit. And then we do we're still doing our year 1. So we're doing our year 1 Islamic Studies textbook. And I mostly read to them the stories, and we just kind of talk about the concepts. And I will sometimes choose to do the worksheet, sometimes mostly because we'll do the worksheets, but I don't want them sitting there cutting and stuff while they're eating. So I let them do that activity later in the day or the next day, sometimes. And so we do those, and then we do this one. So I get the translation of the surahs, or the short chapters that we work on through this book. It's the Holy Quran for Kids by Yahya Emmerich. Got this off of Amazon. It's a great book because not only does it have transliteration, it also has the translation in a very child-friendly format. And so I really like this book. And so we do that one. And then moving on to our other stuff, that was our Islamic section. And then we read, we've been reading The House in Pooh Corners. This is where I usually also incorporate my read alouds from my Bookshark curriculum, because it's been effective doing it this way. We got behind a little bit because we had I had weddings, I had my brother's weddings and stuff, and we kind of we lost track of our schedule basically at some point while we were doing Bookshark. And so I've been kind of picking up where we felt like we wanted to incorporate it and where we didn't. So we just kind of, we've been doing the read alouds from that, and we're working on the house at Pooh Corner. We've been doing that. I think we're almost done with it. We're like halfway done with it, and we've got, I think we're going to do Laura Ingalls' book next. And then we read a little bit of poetry from here, and I usually try to make it, this book is, by the way, amazing. It has poetry for any topic you could possibly think of. Sometimes my daughter will be like, tell me a poem on fairies, and I'll just find a fairy poem on here. Or like, one day she'll say princesses, and the other day my little one she's like, I want to hear a poem on what she said, ancient Egyptians. So I found one in here. There's pretty much everything you could possibly think of in here, and we just talk about the poem and we laugh a little bit, and like, you know, I think it's important to incorporate, you know, as you guys probably know, it's important to incorporate poetry into our language arts, quote unquote language arts schedules, because it gives kids, even young kids, a chance to see what rhyming looks like, and it just gets them interested in words, and it just gets them thinking about, you know, the rhyme sequence and stuff. And I think that's pretty cool, and I bet it is very educational as well. So there's poems in here on numbers, so you could possibly, there's everything, any kind of poem in here. I was very impressed by that book. And next, let me see. We have our Usborne Children's Encyclopedia. I've talked about this book before too. What we've been doing is that we've kind of just been reading through it, just going through it and like looking at pictures, and we read about it and just talk about it. Nothing serious, nothing deep. We're just kind of, I'm just kind of giving them a little, for me it seemed, as a teacher, it just feels like I'm giving them something to think about, you know, and just kind of reflect on. And so we've just been talking about all sorts of topics on here. There's things on here from science, history, to everything else, and I think that's kind of cool. You know, I personally have been a fan of encyclopedias, but this one is a really good one. And then next, we've been looking at this book. This is mostly eye candy, to call it, because it is a very amazingly illustrated book. And so we've kind of just been looking through it, and we'll pick an animal to read about and just look at the pictures. There's all sorts of fun facts in here about these different animals that we've pretty much never heard of. And we're kind of, I feel like we've been working through a lot of the animals this year. We've been talking about animals on land, animals in water, and this book kind of just puts things in perspective, like you know, it'll introduce some of these very advanced concepts in a very colorful manner, and that kind of keeps the kids' attentions, and they're like, oh, look at that one, you know. And so that's kind of been fun for us to do. Nothing serious, nothing deep, but just an early exposure kind of thing, and just looking at the pictures and talking about them. So we've been doing that. And then these two books, this one is called The Verbal Math Lesson, and this one is called The Family Math. I alternate these, and these are not your kid writes in it kind of books. These are mostly for the parent to look at, because I'm like, honestly speaking, I am not a very strong math background person, so I like to have resources that teach me how to teach them, you know. And these books are perfect because the verbal math lesson, it kind of has questions and like fun stuff, like, oh, you know, if I had 5 cookies in one hand and 2 cookies in the other one, how many cookies do you think I have? You know, kind of thing. It just kind of gets them rolling and thinking, and like, you know, and so we do a couple of those every morning. We don't really, you know, I don't have a timed period or a sectioned period off where they're working on those specific problems. It's just a fun way to introduce math into the kids orally without them, you know, sitting there writing. Takes the stress off of writing, takes the stress off of, you know, manipulatives. They just kind of have to think about it, and you can't think, you use your fingers, you know, kind of thing. So it's just kind of been a fun way to introduce math into our schedule. And then this is called the Family Math book, and I saw this on, I think it was Instagram. I'm not even sure where I found it, but somebody recommended it, and I looked into it, and it's such a fun book. It's just got all sorts of games, and I go through and I kind of go through and pick one that we're going to do for the day. And it's been a huge, like, some of them are tangrams. There's tangrams on here. There's talking about money. It's just a variety, but in making math more day-to-day math kind of thing, making more relevant to our lives, and kind of you know, so we've just kind of been playing with that and just talking about it. Not so much, you know, it's not like a lesson, it's not a math lesson, it's just well, you know, if what do pennies look like, what do nickels look like, what do dimes look like, you know, and like you know, stuff like that, because I feel like that's like, my daughter was interested in it, and she was kind of asking a lot of questions about these mathematical like things, and I was kind of like, well, let's look at science, and because obviously I'm a science teacher, so I'm a little partial to that, but she was asking me a lot of questions about this, and I felt like, oh, this is a good way to kind of just bring it, you know, and talk about it in a fun way. So this is a really cool book if you're interested in checking out you know, a fun way of incorporating math into your schedule. And then let's see, that's it. That's basically the stuff that I do. But like, I do use this book to keep them entertained if they want to draw while I'm reading, or they want to you know, they want to do something while I'm reading. There's lots of, you know, my daughter's got all sorts of drawings in here. And this was the Usborne Art Ideas Big Book of Things to Draw. Got this from the library. And then to also keep them engaged, I have coloring masks on here. We do coloring, and we also have create a story cards, so sometimes we'll do this. I think this was recommended by Pepper and Pine. So Hannah recommended, she had the other one, but we got the, I don't know what, tell me a story, fairy tale mix-ups. This one's called the fairy tale mix-up, and it's just because my girls are really into fairy tales right now. Princesses are the thing. So yeah, so this has been really fun for them because they make up all sorts of fun stories about it, and you know, we've made up games and we've played games with us. So that's kind of been fun to do. What else did I want to say? Oh, yeah, so this has been our morning routine kind of thing. After this little routine, I tend not to let it go past half an hour. It takes us about half an hour to do most of these, to go through this entire thing while we're eating, while we're having breakfast and stuff. And then what do we do? Huh? And then we do all of that, and then yeah, and then after that it's mostly playtime for them to just kind of run around, do their thing, and then we try to bring it back together with a snack. Usually I'll use food to kind of entice them into coming back into a circle, and like, or I'll start off the songs, and during circle time, after this we usually have play and then circle time, and so during circle time we'll have another set of things we do together. So it's like, but yeah, that's about it. That's been our morning basket. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's just, I thought it was a good way to recommend some cool books that we've been using, that we've liked. These are not sponsored. So if you guys like any of the books, or you want me to give you specifics, please leave me a comment down below, and I would love to answer them. It was fun sharing this with you guys, and I will talk to you guys later in the next video. Bye!